And debates over press freedom are not just limited to the written word or even to photographs. They can also involve political cartoons. Now, this Portuguese cartoon depicting a blind President Trump being led by a depiction of Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as a dog wearing a Jewish skull cap and stars spurred charges of anti-Semitism when it was published by the New York Times International edition 6 weeks ago. Well, yesterday, the Times announced it will no longer publish any political cartoons.
And with us here in the studio is someone who knows firsthand about that kind of controversy, Israeli cartoonist Avi Katz. His parody of Netanyahu and his cronies last July also spurred charges of anti-Semitism and led to his dismissal from the Jerusalem Report. Avi, great to have you here.
Hi, nice to be here.
Let's just talk about what we saw now first. This cartoon in the New York Times International edition made a huge storm around the world. The decision to stop publishing those cartoons, what's your take? Is it a good one or a bad one? Is it the right thing to do?
It's a terrible thing that's happening. The story started when a great deal of noise was made about this cartoon, and nobody seemed to know where it came from, as if it sort of fell from the sky.
Right.
And I checked it out. Cartoonists internationally, especially now since the internet, are a very close bunch. And we meet every once in a while. There's an organization called Cartooning for Peace, where Arab cartoonists and Israeli cartoonists and from all over the world meet. Anyway, I found out that this was a cartoon by Antonio from Portugal, who is a European left-wing classic left-wing cartoonist who doesn't like imperialists or, I mean, we get along fine with Roger Waters, which is cool. The question is just how this particular cartoon got into this page in the New York Times, because it had no connection with the material being discussed there. It was a page about the Mexican border and immigration. So somebody either slipped up or was having a laugh on somebody and stuck this cartoon inside. But then the big noise that was made about it, it's just ridiculous. And the drawing is really not very smart. For Antonio, you have what's supposed to be a seeing eye dog, but it's sort of a dachshund.
Right.
I have a blind neighbor. Blind people don't have a leash.
Well, let me put it this way, Avi. Context is important. When you did your cartoon as Netanyahu and his cronies as pigs, referencing George Orwell's Animal Farm, one of the defenses for you was it's the context. You're an Israeli cartoonist. You're part of the internal Israeli discussion. You're given some latitude that perhaps someone making a cartoon in Portugal might actually could be seen as anti-Semitic.
Maybe, but there's also the other side. A person abroad, we don't expect him to be pro-Israel or pro-occupation or pro-Bibi. He can be as hostile as he likes, and if I do something that seems to be, if I do something criticizing Netanyahu, that's fine. That's part of the game in Israel. You're allowed, and it's encouraged. But if I do something that seems to be anti-Israeli, and some people take things that way, or anti-Jewish, even worse, then I can be in trouble, or some people can object to it.
Are you concerned at all by the rise, potentially, I mean, we see them objectively, we don't have statistics on it, of that kind of anti-Semitic imagery alongside what we know is a rise in anti-Semitic acts around the world?
No, every year there's a big festival and contest in Iran
Well, Iran is one thing. The rest of the world, the New York Times is another.
Yeah, but people from around the world send in cartoons to this thing, criticizing Israel and criticizing Zionism, and winds up making fun of the Holocaust and so on.
Yeah. You know what, Avi, you and I grew up in a golden age of political cartoons where people could be so harsh and opinionated. Herb Block in the Washington Post, etc. We live in times, either they're more politically correct, more ideologically divisive. Are you concerned?
Or spur a massacre like Charlie Hebdo in France.
Indeed. So are you concerned that in this charged environment we live in and more concern about or restrictions on the press, there will be no room for political cartoons in the future?
Well, there is the wilderness of the internet where anything can happen. Since I was let go by the Jerusalem Report, I illustrate children's books and things like that, but I wanted to keep doing a political cartoon at least once a week to say what I think about things, and I just throw it on Facebook.
But you can't make an income from that.
Can't make an income from that. Occasionally somebody says, I love this drawing, can I buy the original, or, you know, somehow. But, so the question of freedom of, you have freedom of expression totally if you keep your day job.